Are you ready to raise the bar of health to access more love, peace, happiness, and joy? Then let's address the multidimensional aspects of our lives. It's time to wake up medicine. I'm Dr. Arlene Diamco, and you're watching the Multidimensional MD. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Dr. Arlene Diamco. I'm an integrative physician, pediatrician, and cranial osteopath. And I'm streaming live from my basement here. So we never know what is actually going to happen since I'm at home. And that adds to the element of excitement, I guess. This is part of my mission of helping wake up medicine so that we start acting like we are the multi-dimensional beings that we are. And we're going to take this approach to how to navigate stress and anxiety for you and your kids. Before I get into that, I do want to announce that we have something big coming up that's along this lines. It's coming up next month. I won't tell you exactly what it is, but it's going to help you in terms of easing stress and anxiety. There's going to be a huge free portion, so this is for people anywhere, and it's really to help elevate the conversation that we are multidimensional beings and we have in us built-in mechanisms to heal. So we are going to touch on each of these layers for addressing stress and anxiety. And the first thing with your kids and yourself, I had named this to kind of get people in here because you're really motivated for your kids, right? You want to help your kids, but sometimes we put ourselves, the parents will put themselves off to the side. But this is for you and your kids. And the first thing is really taking a good look at the basic physical needs. Are they being met? And this is something, even before quarantine, I would remember so clearly because the kids would come home, they would come off the bus, and it depends on your kid's personality, but I would just know because they've been holding it together all day. Maybe they need to go to the bathroom, maybe they need to eat, they need to have a snack, they need to just rest, whatever it was. Sometimes you couldn't really talk to them. They didn't really want to be bothered until their basic needs were met. So first, number one is food. And this is really important because when we're stressed, our bodies are eating up all these nutrients, B's, all these different B vitamins, vitamin C, antioxidants, minerals. You need that to fuel you because your cortisol is going to be going up. And if it goes up for too long, then it's going to start to flatten out those adrenals. So really making sure that you get something healthy to eat and to be careful, like watching out for those sugar blues, because I know it's quarantine. A lot of people have been baking, and that's great. We make plenty of snacks and baked goods in our house and make it with lots of love, because if you're going to enjoy that sort of thing, you want to enjoy it fully and know that you have so much gratitude for it. And the girls will know that I'm such a sucker for that. They're like, Mommy, but it's made with so much love. And yes, to a certain extent. So we will definitely balance that out. But to make sure that you're getting something nutritious in terms of like dark leafy greens and those dark berries and antioxidants. Chia seeds, I love chia seeds because they're just so packed with nutrients, so many minerals, omega-3s, and fiber. So it's kind of like one of those superfoods. And if you watch the weight loss breakthroughs with my brother, the last podcast a couple of weeks ago, then you know that another superfood bag that you can get from Costco is the super greens, which is spinach, chard, and kale, all packed in one. And something that we have frequently in our house is just making kale chips. I like to just rub the oil, like olive oil, into the kale leaves. I take them off the stalk or I leave them on the stalk. Make sure they're dry, put them in the oven, 275, wait for them. It could be maybe 20 minutes or so, and they make these great kale chips. Number two is just making sure you get enough water, because I've been known for that too. I mean, Sometimes it's like you go through the whole day, I'll be seeing patients and I forget to drink water. And gosh, the physicians in the hospital right now, because, you know, wearing the mask, you like less likely to take it off and get a drink. And there's some days where I wake up, or even later in the afternoon, I'm starting to feel really sluggish. And I start to feel like, oh gosh, I'm so tired, I'm just dragging. And you start to wonder, I'm like, am I getting so stressed out? And sometimes like, oh my gosh, I'm dehydrated. So when you go to the bathroom, take a look, see what color your urine is. It should be like straw yellow, not a dark yellow. So if it's dark yellow, that means you need more water. And when you drink water, make sure to sip it, don't guzzle it. You'll just assimilate it more better into your body. When we guzzle things, it's like we just don't get all the oomph out of it. And that's even true for water. You would think that, I mean, it's just water, but it can like go through you more. And if you take the time to take sips of water, then your body's able to kind of like ease that in and bring it into the tissues, into the cells where it really needs it. So number 3, sleep. I ask my kids, you know, what do they do when they're stressed and anxious? They're just used to me talking about these things openly. I like to normalize it so it's not like a scary thing. I mean, some of them are like, Mommy, I just don't want to talk about this right now. But, you know, I got like, take a break. That's what they tell us to do in school. I mean, take a rest, let your brain de-stress. I love, you know, when my daughter said that, she said, your brain is like a muscle. So the more that if you like overuse it, you're gonna be sore. So a lot of times when we're stressed, those mental loops just keep going and going. She's like, just take a break, just take a rest. And she said, you know, lie down, and you don't even have to be sleeping, but you're giving yourself the opportunity to slow down and just rest your mind. And, you know, if you just see if you're getting enough sleep, how much people need just really varies. For the younger kids, it could be 10 to 12 or more than that. For the older kids, it can be 8 to 10. For adults, really like you to be getting 8 hours of sleep a night. I know a lot of adults are not doing that, so just check in on that. Because sleep really affects your whole body systems. I mean, it affects your hormones, it affects your appetite. So, you know, kind of like on the side, like if you're thinking about like weight loss and stuff, sleep affects your appetite, so you need to get enough rest. It affects your breathing, it affects your blood pressure, it affects your risk for cardiovascular disease. These are all things that are really at the forefront of our minds right now with the pandemic. So don't underestimate getting enough sleep. And, you know, as I mention all of these things, it's not like I'm perfect either. And I like to bring up, you know, what I experienced in my own life, because I feel like it's really useful for people to see that it's not like this end goal we're trying to get to, like to check everything off, that you're this perfect human being. That's not it at all. It's really just part of the journey. So always going back and be like, well, did I get enough sleep? Did I eat well? Did I get, you know, some water today? And number 4, movement and breath. I kind of put this together. Breathing, I really feel like is more up there in terms of priority. But, you know, honestly, sometimes I have to kind of back up with my own kids. And it's not like if they're feeling stressed, it sometimes feels like a little bit too much to be like, oh, can you just start breathing? Like, yeah, maybe if they're used to it, then they know to do that. And so I like to check off some of the easier things too, because it's like, feels very easy to have a snack. It feels very easy to just like have a drink of water, or just like lay down on the couch, listen to some music. And then you always start to get some ease in your movement and your breathing. And this is really important to really keep that breath moving. I keep talking about this because of COVID, because of I can't breathe, Black Lives Matter, because breathing is such a theme right now. And if we can learn this, if we can learn what the world is trying to tell us sooner, then we can overcome a lot of these things. And we don't necessarily have to end up in the hospital if we get sick with COVID, because it's that breath. And I check people all the time. I check their diaphragms and see how they're moving. So when you are moving, like going for a walk first thing in the morning, so good. You get the sunshine, your cortisol levels are naturally up anyway, so it takes advantage of that. And it's really refreshing. It sets your tone for the day. It gets your diaphragm moving, so it kind of like sets this rhythm into the body. And if you keep that diaphragm moving, then you're less likely to get sick with COVID. And also, you're able to be more in the flow of that anxiety or stress, because I always say this, the flow, the health is in the flow. So the breath really helps in that flow. If you're just kind of feeling really sluggish and not feeling like you want to get up and move, just start like at least massaging yourself. Just get that circulation going. A self-massage just kind of wake up the body, helps you be more present in your body, because when we are stressed and anxious, a lot of times the tendency is like, we just want to fly out. We just want to numb out. And although that can be okay, coping mechanisms for short periods of time, it's not really a sustainable way to live. It's like you just start to feel like you're stuck in the mud, you're in this stuckness. So yeah, just wake your body up by like massaging. And if you've got kids, especially the little kids, don't forget you can always have a dance party. So much fun. They will just really appreciate that kind of attention that you are sharing on them, that you want to take the time to do that with them. And so you start to see like the multi-purpose of it all. So that, from the physical, now we are going to move on to the mental emotional layer. So this is all about feeling seen and heard. And gosh, what does that actually mean? Because we can kind of tease that apart and go from the individual level and then on to outer layers. So that's how I'm going to look at it. So really, feeling seen and heard is like, it's like all we ever want. It really makes us feel loved and embraced and part of a tribe. It's such a primal instinct, because when we feel left out, we don't have the tribe, that feels like a threat to our lives. So feeling like you're seen and heard is really important to addressing any stress and anxiety. And you can do that from the level of the self, the individual. So you want to be able to hear and see yourself. And sometimes when you're not sure where to start, it's just giving yourself this embrace. I like to put that hand over the heart. Peter Levine talks about this. And then just giving yourself a self-embrace, really feeling it. So you can massage and, again, wake up that body, helps you be in your body, it helps you be like present, paying attention to your senses and what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're tasting. Even the air has a taste, what you're smelling, and what you're feeling. So when you do that, you're acknowledging like your feeling, your presence, and whatever state you're in, it feels really good to have that kind of acknowledgement. It really helps us get through stress and whatever's going on with us. And in expressing in so many different ways. So in creating something, so it's very different than having a project like for school or having a project for work. It's like creating something for no other reason than you want to. And little kids are so good with that. So sometimes you can get inspired by the ideas from the little kids to see like, what do you mean create something for no other reason? Maybe it's just getting the Lego blocks out and just seeing what you come up with. Maybe it's just getting a box of crayons out and just starting to scribble. And that's a neat exercise that I give people a lot of times. It's like, just take the crayons out and start scribbling. And I don't even care, get the cheap crayons. I don't care if they break, because sometimes you feel like breaking something. And I've had parents say that their kids did that when they got really stressed. They started breaking things that you really don't want them to break, like an iPad. So I said, well, why don't you give them permission to break something? It sounds like they really need to get something out, some frustration out. So they just got some, like maybe get crayons are already broken, or there's just cheap ones, and color as hard as you can until they break. It just helps to release some tension in a safe way. Or put a pile of leaves together and jump in it, or pine straw, or creating something that's just for no other reason than you want to. Maybe it's just like putting words on a paper, and you don't even have to think about it. It's just like word, 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 just like out, because it's better out than in. And this is something I really am passionate about. I want to talk about so much more. Anyway, we're going to keep going. We're going to go on to the level of the family, right? Because being seen and heard in family. So I have 4 kids, and gosh, it is a constant flow back and forth of like who is, who's needing more attention and who's like doesn't want attention, and all those different dynamics. But really, when your kids say something to you, it's not about having to judge what they say, but really validating how they feel. And the validation comes in that you heard them. There's not like a right or wrong way to feel. We're going to talk about this a little bit more when we get to spirit. But in the family, every kid wants to have some say in how the family works. So how you organize your day, what you're doing, what you eat, that is like really important in my family. My kids are so on like, I really want to eat something that I enjoy. And they're open to eating like healthy things, but they don't want to eat like the same thing every day. They're like, I'm tired of that Trader Joe's chicken. So just being able to build that in a way that works for you, because each family will have their own set of chores. Each family will have their own set of rules. So there's not a right or wrong way. It's like what works for you. But so important to let your kids have some say. You are the parent, so of course you get the final say, but at least give some choices, because choices really helps feel like we have some sense of freedom. We have some sense of control in our lives, especially when things feel unsteady. And then when you come up with the choices, well, make sure that you're okay with the choices you come up with. Don't be upset that you gave them a choice and you didn't want them to choose that. So, if you think of what's for dinner, like you can give a few options, but the ones that you're okay with. And then going into those outer layers of feeling a sense of belonging, seen and heard, and that sense of community. So this is a little bit trickier, right? When we're in, it's quarantine, semi-quarantine, depending on where you are. It's like, how do you get a sense of like that you have friends, you have an extended family? Well, one thing that I really thought was important was to kind of reverse the roles of maybe you feel lonely, maybe you're missing your friends, but then to kind of reverse it and be like, wait, who out there could be lonely? Maybe they feel like me. Maybe someone that lives by themselves and could use some reaching out to. And so to kind of like start to flip it around like that, because in helping them, you help both of you, reaching out and like saying like, hey, I wanted to check in on you, see how you're feeling, if you need anything, just to chat, how your day is, whatever it is, however you're feeling, just kind of flip around and see, is there anyone else that has needs that could be met, and could I do anything about it? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But we are so used to being on Zoom and online now. And I mean, a simple hello could be everything. I met this Uber driver. I'm going to introduce you to him next month. I can't tell you, I can't spill the beans yet. But he had said to me, just anyone that you meet, and now it's meeting like in Zoom, so we have to kind of like choose to reach out, but just say hello and how are you today? Because you don't know if that's the only, when the last time someone said that to them was, and you don't know like how much impact that could have in their lives. And it's so easy, it doesn't really take much effort, but you have to still choose to do it. So I think that's really important. It's like, I'm missing my community, and then flip it around like, oh, who else is missing community? Let's form community together. So keeping going in terms of like sense of belonging. Now I want to talk about just like belonging to the earth. So belonging to nature. course, you probably hear about like grounding all the time, but this is the purpose right now of slowing down, getting your hands in the soil, walking barefoot on the ground if you're able to, having like flowers, just being able to enjoy nature somehow. And the interesting thing is that even if you are not in a place where you can get outside much, that even having pictures of nature can have the same effects on calming effects on you as being in nature itself. I know it's not totally the same, but just kind of easy ideas of like, oh, maybe I'll just print out some nature scenes and put that up, or like cute little baby animals, or things that just make you go, oh. So that really helps us all feel connected. So now we're going to move on to this layer of the spirit. Now, these are all interconnected, right? This is a really important thing. It's like we are spiritual beings having a human experience, as the French philosopher had said. And the beginning of that is we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. So now we start to get into things that feel a little bit less tangible, but hopefully we'll start to, by talking about, we'll help make them more tangible for you. So one is really having trust in the face of the unknown. And really, in any moment, we don't ever know what's going to happen. And so being able to start to get more comfortable with that, that is a huge trust. And all I really need to know is like, what do I need to do at this very moment? What do I need to do for today? And at most, like, what do I need to do this week? Because we can't really plan for much more than that. And it's also about not being afraid of discomfort, because when your kids are uncomfortable, when they are stressed or anxious, I mean, you feel that, and it's very uncomfortable as a parent. But part of that is learning how to be more comfortable with their discomfort, because the stress is a part of life. So it's going to come up, and you're going to love them no matter what. So that's not going to change. So we don't have to hurry them through the experience. It's going to take longer in the end. It's kind of a strange thing that having patience and be able to embrace and just surround them with this huge love nest of like, gosh, you're okay, even though you feel these things, even though you're going through a stressful moment, it's okay, it's going to change. And you know, sometimes to like kind of help through these kind of like mental loops and breaking through that, not being afraid of discomfort. Something I found really useful to do that is EFT tapping. It's like kind of a whole other thing. I have a course on that in the academy, but it is tapping on meridian points, and it can really help to just kind of settle that. And I could do like a quick kind of tapping just sample if you guys would like me to. And so it's, you kind of do a set it phrase in this karate chop point, and it's like, even though you say what the problem is, even though I'm afraid of discomfort, I'm okay. Even though I'm afraid of discomfort, I still totally love and accept myself. Even though I'm afraid of discomfort, totally love and accept myself. And then you go through this tapping routine. We're going to tap on certain meridian points, and it just helps to kind of smooth all those layers of resistance, like a short circuit, so it smooths the short circuit. So you just kind of talk about whatever it is. It's like, yeah, I'm afraid of being uncomfortable. I'm afraid of discomfort. I'm afraid of the unknown. I'm afraid of change. I don't like seeing my kids stress, and I resist that, and I don't know why, and I don't know how to change that. But if I could, I would be open to it. If there was an easier way where I could be more open and kind of flow with it more, then I'm so open to it. I'm open to it for myself and to help my kids. Because if I can help myself through it, then that would be a great model for them. And if anything, oh gosh, like your actions speak so much louder than words. And I believe that I can do that. So even though I'm afraid of discomfort and I'm uncomfortable with discomfort, I'm open to being more comfortable with. And I choose to be that now. I choose every moment to become more comfortable with things just as they are, because I love myself just as I am any moment, regardless of the stressors I'm going through. And the same with my kids. I love them any moment, regardless of what they're going through. My love for them will not change. Nice big breath. So, I mean, I don't know if you got a chance to do that with me. If not, you can always rewind it later and go through that, because I mean, doing that right now, I will just start to feel like a bit more ease, and it's so much easier. And you kind of have to do it for yourself first before teaching your kids how to do it, because it's very difficult to teach someone how to do something you don't know how to do. It starts to sound kind of slick or like inauthentic. It's not that you can't try. It's not saying like, oh, wow, until you're perfect. No, it's not that at all. But it's about being honest where you are right now. It's like, well, gosh, I'm actually having a hard time with that. And I'm open to figuring it out. I'm open to learning. And I'm actually open to sharing that process with you. So not pretending like you have it all together, because your kids can like sniff it out anyway. And it's like, you also need to address your own triggers, because this is what the kids are going to bring up. When they're uncomfortable, that kind of visceral response that you have in your body, that's you also getting triggered. And of course, right, it's your kids, they don't feel well, but what it will do, it's going to start to remind you of anything that you've been through. So you can start to like scan your life. A lot of times it's like around the same age, or it could be younger. And it's like, when did I feel like that? Or whatever situation they're going through, what reminds me of it? Because that's part of that visceral reaction. And this is a lot of courage to be very honest with yourself, because our minds cognitively are going to want to say like, it's fine, I got this, it's no big deal. But then the body could be like, big deal to me. No, I'm having a hard time with this. So remember we're spiritual beings having a human experience. Even if they're like, you feel kind of more enlightened or in the metaphysical world, and you're like, well, I shouldn't be bothered by this because there's worse things going on in the world. Yes, that may be true, but you could still be having this human experience where it's triggering old patterns. And the wonderful thing is that when they get triggered, it is an opportunity for you to look at it right then and there, if you choose to. And so I will do this periodically after I've had my basic needs met, because my kids know if mommy is hungry or tired, it's not a really good time, to be like hangry and trying to like handle like spiritual needs and stuff. It's not an intentional fast, it's just like hangry. So when you settle yourself and just kind of check in with that true visceral response of, okay, I am having a hard time with this. What can I do with that? Well, let me start to breathe into it. What does it remind me of? Oh, well, maybe I could use some EFT tapping and help to get some ease into that for myself. And then maybe in doing so, then I can help my kids through it too, because I won't feel like it's such a scary thing to go through. Remember, it's a process, so we're going through it. It's not this end goal where we're like, now we're this perfect being. It's just like, oh, this is a process. And I like to say to people, it's like, when you're going through difficulties, it's like that really exciting part of the movie where you don't know what's going to happen, but something is going to unfold. And chances are things can be better. So that's where the trust is. It's like, even though difficult things happen, something on the other side is going to be from the light, from the love. And how can I continue to trust and take steps towards that? So you get to live your own movie. Even more exciting than watching the movie, because now it's like 5D, right? You get the visceral, you get all the sensations and the thoughts. So for better or worse, you are worth it. You're so worth it. I'm gonna pop in here to see if anyone has any comments. If you do, afterwards things come up, just leave them for me. I'm happy to reply to them. Thank you so much for being here with me. Lots of love to all of you. I'll be back on in a couple of weeks, and we are going to talk about sound healing then. So I'm here for you. Anyone that showed up, I am here for you. Whether you want to leave your name or not, or be anonymous, it doesn't matter to me. I'm here for you. So love you tons. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching the MultiDimensional MD.